said if he had met me first, things would be different. He said that if he had gotten to know me better before the relationship he was in, then things would have been different. Things would have turned out in a whole different way, and I believed it for a bit. I was like, man, that kind of just sucks how life is. And as I grew and as I understood life and decisions, I realized that it's not just if he had met me first. It was also if God had designed it. Some people call it who was meant to be, but see, I don't always look at it that way. When I was engaged, God stopped my engagement, even though at the time that man had been better than anything I'd ever been in, any relationship I'd ever been in, and any man I'd ever been with. God said that was not the one for me. And I obliged, I listened. I knew that it was better for me to listen to God than go my own way. And I had doubts, taking care of an ill son and just watching his lack of availability. Emotionally, yes, but also physically. At the time when he was supposed to show up for me, he didn't. And it's so interesting that the weekend that my son got sick, we had been planning, unbeknownst to us what was about to happen, we had been planning that he would get his passport and that he would come to Canada. And it was always this excuse of, well, let me not call it an excuse, but it was always this thing of, hey, I'm the one who takes care of my household. I'm the one who takes care of my mom, my sister, my nephews. I'm the one who pays rent. I'm the one who's got to put my money towards that. And so I can't always put money towards the things that I want, and it sucks, but that's the situation. And I would often say, so when do you look out for you? When do you build what you want? And there was never really an answer because there was never really a solution. And in that moment that I had told him, I said, if you don't get your passport and come to see me by my birthday, we're going to have some problems. And that same weekend that I wished he was here, he was supposed to be here, he didn't come. Something had come up in the family and he was unavailable for me. And not just unavailable, his phone got cut off and I had to email him the news about my son. He was unavailable. He was not able to be who I wanted him to be. So although he was better than what I had, essentially, mentally, physically, and everything else, he was not the best that I could have gotten. But I was young at the time. How would I know? And so when God intervened, when God stepped in and said, no, this is not who I have for you and the future that I plan for you, I began to understand the conversation of settling. The conversation of getting to a place where we're so comfortable with what's around us, we almost have fear to try something else for the fear of what if what we search for is not even, what if it doesn't even exist? What if it's not available? What if I leave what I have, go searching for what I could have or what I want, and I end up with nothing? This conversation is, as much as I was potentially somebody's side chick. And so this conversation is how to leave, how to grieve, and how to walk away. A, from being a side chick, but B, letting the past be the past and moving on. Because I've talked about it so often, you would have thought that I was somebody's side chick. But no, there was many gray areas. Okay, let me not say many. There was like 2 specific events where there was gray areas. And that was just because emotions were there. Intent was there, but no action happened. And I'm not going to be naive to say just because I didn't go through with it, it doesn't mean that it couldn't have happened. A lot of it was my own morals keeping me grounded. A lot of it was my own thoughts. Like, I know what it feels like to be on the other side of this, and I don't want to put nobody through that. Number one. And number two, that's just not who I was. And so I wasn't in the position to allow it to happen. I wasn't in a position to be okay with it. But like I said, it doesn't mean that emotions weren't there and intent wasn't there. And the thing is, for me, it happened so kind of nonchalantly. I didn't step into a role thinking this is what it is. I had met a gentleman, and if you've read my book, you know where this is going. And we hit it off immediately. And it was like time stood still, and it was just like in those movies. And I'm a huge movie buff, and so it was so interesting to me the way in which this was playing out. And as I'm hitting him up and everything else, and I'm like, man, this is really cool. And then he eventually tells me he is in a relationship, but it's not something he mentioned at first. And it wasn't something he mentioned when we were exchanging numbers. And to me, in that moment, you kind of knew what was going down. That if I had somebody and I had that moment, it would have been just a moment. I would have left it there. I would have walked away because the potentials of what could be, it was that high. It was that strong between us. And I know I'm not making this up because it's been years. And sometimes whenever I post a picture, I know he's going to be one to comment on it. Now, I could say, yes, he's going to comment as my friend or whatever. But I know the truth is not just, oh, we're friends and he wants to comment. I know the truth is he finds me beautiful and he wants to comment. And there's nothing wrong with finding somebody beautiful at all. Like, men are men. They're going to look, not all men. Not all men. But for some men, that's just, they're attracted to women. They're going to look at a beautiful masterpiece. We look at paintings all the time. But when we go to high-end exhibits, just because we love a painting, it doesn't mean that we touch it. It doesn't mean that we take it with us. We admire it from where it was, for what it is, and we keep pushing. And that wasn't the situation in my case, because I could discern what was happening. I feel like sometimes we don't take the time to really think about what's happening around us. We're kind of just like, la, la, la. I'm going to just go with it, just flow with it. And, like, that's the times that we end up in situations because we didn't once stop to think, nah, this is more than what I signed up for. We wait till we get in the thick of it, and then we make excuses like, well, I mean, he should have known better. He shouldn't have done this. He shouldn't have done that. But listen, responsibility is two people, right? And I think the funny thing of why I'm coming up with this conversation is because so often people forget that we are human beings having experience with emotions, and we have to learn self-control over our own emotions. We have to learn how to self-edit. And when we don't self-edit, that's when we find ourselves into relationships that we shouldn't have never been in. And I spent years just in the back of my head with this thing that he said, if only I had met you first, it would have been different. And to be honest, that statement had me feeling like I wasn't good enough for a little bit. Because I was like, so wait, why am I not good enough for you to have met me? And for the moment that we had, for it to be everything. And when we talk, you're telling me like you're unhappy and things aren't working out, and you're expressing how you feel, and you sound miserable. Not even just the words you say, you just sound like you're just settling and you're just in a miserable state. It's the start of like, okay, so why am I not good enough for you to come over here? And this whole verbiage of it should have been you had it been previous, puts a lot of weight and pressure on somebody to be like, but why couldn't it be me now? Like, what has caused in your mind for you to stop? And it's not about, oh, they stopped because they're in a relationship. It's not even about that. Because I'm a true believer of, if you're in something that is not bringing you gratitude, or you find yourself just like settling, then don't do it. There's so many people I know who settle and have just like mediocre relationships. And I was one of those people. I was ready to settle down. God blew up my spot and I'm happy with it. But I know what it feels like to take less in life. And I had made an agreement really early on that I wasn't going to take less. That I was going to come for everything God had for me, and that included relationships. And so when I see other people who are just like, yeah, this is what it is, I'm just here, I'm just stuck, I'm like, we are not tied, at least before marriage, we are not tied down to anybody. We have the ability to walk away. We really can say, you know what, as much as I love you, as much as this situation has been amazing, I don't feel like it's the right one for me. And we're allowed to go search for more. And it's not even like those situations where people are just greedy and they just want more and more and more and two and all. No. Our spirits can tell us, like, based on how we're feeling, based on what's happening, like, is this what God has for us? Or is there somebody else out there who he's designed and created for us? And when I say more, I know some people are just like, well, you have to be happy at some point. But like, when you self-examine, when you take a look at your life, your traumas, what you've been through, you can see if you're trauma bonding with somebody. You can see if you're just in it because it's the best you got. Like, when I look back now, I'm like, oh yeah, my ex-fiance at the time, I loved him because he was the best I had at the time. But there were so many things wrong. There were so many things that wouldn't have worked. And he was an amazing person. But an amazing person doesn't necessarily equate long-lasting relationship. You know what I'm saying? Like, there's still work that had to be done. And did he have the equipment to work on this relationship? Was he ready to do that? He wasn't. He wasn't able to. And I've seen that over the last few years. I've just seen our growth and the way that we've gone. And just how we are as people today. I'm like, oh God, I'm grateful for what you showed me beforehand that I couldn't see myself. And there's a lot of people who, let's be honest, God has showed them, they know. It's the fear that holds them back, and I'll get more into that tomorrow. But I just wanted to get this conversation started because it was a thought that I had, and I'm like, I need to talk about this. I need to talk about being in these relationships and making the decision that this is what we're choosing for the rest of our lives. And that's fine. If that's what we choose, that's what we choose. But then we can't choose that and then go out there and tell other people, you know, it's cool, it's what I have. And like, you know what I'm saying? Like, if that's a choice, you better rock with that choice. You better stand 10 toes down on that choice that you made, and find a way to build a life and to be happy. Find a way to be happy. Like, God did not put us here to be mediocre. He did not put us here to have just a regular life. Like, we are incredible creatures. We are incredible beings. And we were truly put here to enjoy the world, while we're also designed to tell people about God and show love to one another. You know what I'm saying? Like, a lot of people are going about this world like they were made to be miserable, and that's not true. And I'm not saying that the men that I had talked to or the men that I've seen were completely miserable, but there were spots where I'm just like, and there's women too. Like, I've had friends, girls who just like, I know they're not fully happy in the relationship, but they've convinced themselves that that's the best they're going to get, and they settle for it. And it's always so unfortunate when I see that. And they look at me like I'm free, I'm this, I'm that. And I am, because I'm not bound to anybody but God. My love for God is what keeps me in a space of wanting all He has for me, wanting more. And more in terms of the beautiful things, more in terms of finding out and exploring the world, exploring emotions, exploring why this equals that, exploring how this thing that happens to me when I was a kid has me thinking this about people when I'm older. You know what I'm saying? Like exploring my inner self. I'm not talking about, let me not even touch on that. And so this thing, and then one thing I realized was that as I was going through these emotions, as I was going through this conversation, it's been so many years that I need to grieve what it was, and I need to be happy that it didn't catch me. I need to be happy that that wasn't my life. I need to be happy that I moved on from that. I need to not let it hold me up anymore. So now when I have conversations and men are like, man, it could have been you. Inside, I'm just like, it couldn't have. It was never going to be God's design. Me and you, this thing. I see how you think. I see the way that you do things. I see the way that you say things. And that's cool for you, but that was never going to be my life. My life is destined for something greater. And when I was younger, I used to say, I'm not going to marry nobody who does this. It's not so much about their job currently, and it has nothing to do with their potential either, because I've had men with potential. They potentially can drive you insane with all their potential that they don't reach, that they don't strive for, that they don't take up and do, right? It ain't about potential. It is literally about the soul, the inner man, like their relationship with God. That is, for me right now, that is the number one thing. If you don't have, and I'm not talking about do you go to church. Not that. If you don't have a relationship with God, if you don't know Him as Father, if God don't know you, you can't know me. If God do not know you, you cannot know me, because there is a standard that is set. And I'm not talking about, like, my ex-fiance was like, fine, I'll go to church. Sir, it was never about you going to church. It was about your relationship with God. And I can't force that upon you because you're your own person. I can't be with you manipulatively until you do it, because again, it's your own opinion. If you're forced into it, it won't last. You ever try to force somebody to come with you and they're miserable the whole time, and you're like, damn, you're so miserable. They didn't want to be there. You should have left them home. You should have left them at home. They would have been fine. I needed somebody who wasn't just concerned about going to church, but was concerned about what God was saying to them, if they were hearing from God, how they're submitting themselves. And unfortunately, that wasn't him. Unfortunately, that's not where his mindset was at. And because of that, we couldn't be in a relationship. And so any person I talk to today, they have to have a foundational and exceptional relationship with God, first and foremost. Like, that's what needs to happen. Above that, we can do other things, but without God, I cannot help. You cannot call my name. Like, it's just not gonna go anywhere, because I realize that God, He's the one that keeps me grounded. He's the one who governs me. He's the one who teaches me love. He's the one who tells me not to respond when somebody being petty. He's the one who makes me feel like everything's gonna be okay when I'm hurting. He's the one who cares about my feelings. He's the one who nurtures me. He's the one who's growing me. And I know some people are like, oh my gosh, that sounds so religious. I mean, when you have a relationship with somebody, when you truly, truly, truly care about somebody, you care about how they feel and they care about how you feel. I have a relationship with Christ that puts me in a spot where, man, I care about his feelings. And he cares about my feelings. He cares if I'm hurt. He cares if I'm crying. He cares if I'm upset. And he's somebody that I could talk to. Like, everybody's just like, I need to talk, I need to talk, I need to talk. Man, if you don't look up to the sky and start talking, relationships are important. Being valued in relationships are important. But also knowing your worth in relationships are important. I think sometimes we mourn what we thought could have been. I think sometimes we mourn how society, like the box that they put us in, without fully knowing it and attributing it to grief or mourning. Like, we were hurting and we're like, that's just what it is. But if we understood that it was a grief that we were feeling, we're like, with grief, I have to talk about it. I gotta walk through it. There might come some anger. There might come some bitterness. There might come, like, understanding that there's stages in grief. There's a process in grief, but also understanding that we could get through grief. We can heal from it. We just attribute everything to pain. We're like, this hurt, this hurt, this hurt, this hurt. But, like, hurt is a feeling. Grief is a spirit. We have to understand the differences of what we're going through. We have to understand the vocabulary of what we're experiencing so we know how to then attribute it to what it is that we're going through. And so, I don't know how the name Side Chick Chronicles came along, and it probably sounds messier than it truly is, because this ain't just to spill a bunch of tea about side chick relationships. This is a healing work that we're doing. This is uprooting that we're doing. Just like, when I started to understand my worth, I understood my value. I understood that I had power. I took it back. I said, no. It wouldn't have mattered if you had met me first, because it doesn't settle upon what you say. It's not what you say goes. I also have a saying this, and maybe back then I would have been naive enough to just follow and just be like, oh, okay, cool. But like today, no, I understand that that's not the relationship that I want. When I think about it, I'm like, I would not want this relationship for myself. Like, if I was in their spouse's or their girlfriend's situation, I'm like, this is not how I want my man behaving on the street. Real talk. Like, I would be upset to hear that he's having the conversations that he's having with me, like with a girl. And the funny thing is, none of our conversations were really sexual in nature. They were just talking. But it was the way we're talking. It was the way we're gazing. It was the way, I'm saying, like, when we did talk about sexual things, we did. But for the most part, it was just about real life stuff. And that's cool, too. But there can be boundaries that are crossed. And I think that's what people don't fully realize. Boundaries can be crossed even when you don't mean to. And when you cross those boundaries, then you have to take the consequences that comes with it. And the realization that you might have just stepped into being a side chick. Y'all stay tuned, because tomorrow I have a special surprise. Lately I've been doing a little bit more with people and conversations. And so, yeah, stay tuned for tomorrow's episode. It was a really good one, and that conversation is going to run a couple days. So this whole week, y'all, is a week full of healing, conversations, and Side Chick Chronicles. Talk soon. Hey, thank you so much for listening to the Lips and Language podcast. My name is Cola. I am so excited that you are here. If anything I said today resonated, then get in touch with me. I have an amazing mentorship program. It is for those who feel misunderstood, overwhelmed, going through grief. It is truly an amazing time. If you want more info, hit my website, lipsandlanguage.com. And if you want to get in touch with me, you can hit it up on the website or DM me. I have a free gift for you, and I would love to be in contact with you. Whatever you decide, just know that healing, it looks good on you. And I'm so excited that we get to do this journey together. Have a blessed day. And if nobody told you, I will. I love you. Enjoy your day, and we'll talk soon. Peace. Hey, thank you so much for listening to the Lips and Language podcast. My name is Cola. I am so excited that you are here. If anything I said today resonated, then get in touch with me. I have an amazing mentorship program. It is for those who feel misunderstood, overwhelmed, going through grief. It is truly an amazing time. If you want more info, hit my website, lipsandlanguage.com. And if you want to get in touch with me, you can hit it up on the website or DM me. I have a free gift for you, and I would love to be in contact with you. Whatever you decide, just know that healing, it looks good on you. And I'm so excited that we get to do this journey together. Have a blessed day. And if nobody told you, I will. I love you. Enjoy your day, and we'll talk soon. Peace.